Meet Serena, your virtual companion for emotional support. The ultimate safe space to discuss your thoughts, your fears, and the ups and downs of daily life. Start your free trial today at serena.chat.
27 female. I'm planning to end things with the guy the first 28 male, over his girl best friend. Too long did not read. Guy the first really has a female best friend and I'm not sure if I want a relationship with him now. So 26 female got asked out by a distant coworker 28 male of mine a little over a month ago. We've gone on 4 dates since. We hit it off pretty well since we have a lot in common and share a similar sense of humor. He's been great so far. He's also hinted at wanting something long-term. In our conversations of family and friends, he mentioned a friend called Max several times. What I'd gotten so far from his stories was Max was a childhood friend his age. They went to the same college and kept in touch. They had silly, in a good way, traditions. He had some pretty funny stories about his family and friends, so I laughed and shared some of my own. On the 4th date, however, I found out that Max was a girl. I don't know how it never came up. He never said, she, mostly referred to her as Max. I don't think he tried to hide that Max was female though. It just never came out. So, I sneakily asked if Max was single. I have a cousin who's great and single. And he said she was and has been for a while now. He was on board with setting up Max with my cousin. I also said something like, "Oh, so she's kind of like your best friend?" "Probably. She's definitely my longest friend." He replied. We continued the rest of the dinner talking about other things. I decided to stalk his social media. He had 6 pictures on Instagram and 4 of them had comments from a Maxine, so, of course, I stalked hers too. She had a lot of pictures and saved stories with him. Probably 30% of her saved stories was of or with him. One post was of him, sitting across her in table at a local cafe. He was smiling towards the camera. The caption said, "Caffeine sessions with my therapist Red Heart." I'm sure there are people of different sexes perfectly capable on platonic relationships, but it's just not something I'm comfortable with. Perhaps it's a me thing or I have issues, but I don't like that he's that close to another female. I'd just never be comfortable. I think he's better off with a girl who's cool with it. I know I won't be able to be with a guy who has a girl best friend. The next day, he invited me out to lunch and asked me if we could be official, exclusive. When he saw my hesitancy, he immediately asked me if I needed more time or if anything was wrong. So I kind of laid it out to him. Told him he was wonderful, but I'm not the type of girl who is okay with girl best friends. He didn't do anything wrong, but perhaps we have different boundaries and I don't want him to lose a 20+ years friendship because of a girl he's known for a month. He said he understood where I was coming from. He also said that he could really see us being serious and long-term. He proposed that we continue seeing each other for a bit, meet Max, and if I'm still uncomfortable after 6 months, he'll go LC with her, can't cut her off because she's an established family friend. I really like him, but I don't want him to lose a friend because of me. At the same time, I am certain I won't be okay with a friendship like theirs and would rather end it now since it's only been a month, whereas in 6 months, it'll hurt significantly more. Should I just end things with him? Edit. Okay. I texted him a few questions and here are some answers. I also did tell him about it was for a Reddit post and he's fine as long as everything is anonymous. 1. Have you guys ever had feelings for each other? I never saw her romantically, but in efforts of full transparency, she had a crush on me back in high school and a while in college. 2. When you guys went alone camping together, were you in a relationship with someone? Of course not. 3. How often do you guys communicate? It's not like we talk regularly. At most, maybe once or twice a week. 4. Do you think she has feelings for you? I'm not sure. I don't know. 5. Do you guys ever flirt? Nope. 6. Do you have pet names for each other? I call her Max. She calls me Dummy. 7. Would cutting her off really hurt you? I don't know. Maybe a few years back, but not so much now. 8. What makes her your best friend? I've just known her for a long time. 9. Has she hinted on wanting a relationship with you? I wouldn't know. What does that even mean? I had this same thing when my girlfriend went on a trip with 2 of her male friends and some family. I felt very uncomfortable with it, until I met them. One guy acted like her little brother, and I don't know much about women, but I do know they don't feel romantic feelings for guys like that. The other guy was his buddy, but he was obsessed with his job and brought the equipment from that job to test on this trip. Unique circumstances. He was infinitely more interested in that than what the rest of the world was doing. Long story short, you should meet Max before you make this decision. You may find that their dynamic is quite different than what is playing around in your mind. You might even like her. If it makes you uncomfortable, you should walk away. You're only 4 dates in and you don't need to put this much effort into it. Can't believe he is willing to end his friendship over a relationship of less than a year when the friend has done nothing wrong. It is a you problem, definitely. You need to grow up, you're nearly 30. This kind of insecurity isn't cute anymore. Find a therapist. You should end things, he can do better. My 23F boyfriend 24M didn't want to pay $200 to save my life. I was at a bar with my boyfriend and his friends a while ago. We all had a great time, dancing on tables, singing and drinking. I remember feeling totally fine 1 second, and the next I got very unsteady, and I lost connection with my body. I got confused and scared, but then just significant other calm. It was all types of weird. This is seconds here and there I remember. Most things that happened doesn't exist in my memory. I became unconscious, and according to my BF, the few times I opened my eyes they looked very scared. He was told to get a taxi and get me to the emergency room fast. He managed to get me into the taxi and it started to drive. My boyfriend told me that during the drive the driver told him that he would have to pay $200 extra if I threw up. Then my boyfriend said fuck no, stopped the driver and wanted to walk to the emergency room. I was still unconscious, and he didn't know why, or if my life was at risk. Luckily for him, the police was driving around and saw me laying on the ground. They asked him what's up, and drove us to the emergency room with blue lights on and fast. They took it very seriously and without them my boyfriend would have been lucky to even get me to the emergency room. Turns out I got drugged that night. It got worse, as he forced me to walk with shaky legs from the emergency room the day after. A walk that should have been 20 minutes took me 2 hours. Even started talking about the fact that he could have gotten drugged too, and that maybe he got a little drugged? Even though he didn't feel weird at all that night? Then he started to talk about him paying the taxi $40 for the little drive and how much that was. Like he wanted me to pay him back or something. He constantly stated that it was $40 and how sick that was. It's the normal price around here. He looked up symptoms related to being drugged, and found that long-term symptoms would mostly be trauma. The next weekend I had to be with his friends again and some people I didn't know. They talked about that night and even made joked a little around me being drugged. Not a lot, but I felt awful. He also ignored me once when I said someone was following me. He was never scared of letting me walk around in town at night, but if a female friend did it, then he would have to follow her. He argues when I'm scared instead of making me feel better or protecting me. Other than that, he's a kind man that doesn't want to hurt people but like. This cannot be normal? Is this a relationship worth it? I'm scared I'm overreacting, but keep in mind that most of this is told from his perspective, as I don't remember that night. Edit. I forgot to say that I asked him what he would have done differently if this happened today, and paying the taxi was not on the list. Edit 2. I said it in the comments, but it's difficult to even see it at this point. I just have to say that he did call for an ambulance, but they didn't come. According to him, it was one of the first things he did. But he told them I was conscious and so they didn't feel the need to come. An ambulance is basically free here, meaning it would have saved him some money. He would have no reason not to call. Some people also said that I should have paid him back for the taxi, and I agree based on the information I gave you. But I was the one that paid for drinks that night, and I spent a lot more than $40 on him. In total I spent $176 to be exact. Edit 3. I also want to say thank you for all the feedback. It feels both awful and good having my feeling validated. In a way I wanted you guys to tell me that I was overreacting and that he really tried his best. Seeing that you also find this situation a little fucked up makes me feel less crazy though, haha. And yeah, I'll dump him. I think it will be the best for the both of us. Let's put it this way, I've done more to help a passed out stranger than your own boyfriend did to help you. Is this relationship worth it? No. He's a selfish, self-involved man with no compassion and it doesn't sound like he cares about you at all. Dump him. He put a price on your life, and apparently, it's a max of $40. My sister in Christ, why do you even have to ask? You know he's a shitbag and it's not worth it. Why didn't they just call an ambulance? It doesn't seem like your boyfriend has very good judgment. And neither do any of the people you were hanging out with. My 32F husband's 29M parents came into our bedroom. Hi all. Yesterday morning, my husband's parents let themselves into our home. We have a passcode door lock, and proceeded to make their way up to our bedroom. His mom opened the door and told us it was time to get up. Mind you, I am naked from the waist up and only have a skimpy pair of shorts on. Of course, I'm confused. What they are doing here? My husband didn't tell me anything about them coming over? Why would any mother feel okay opening their married son's bedroom like that? So I of course tell my husband to get up and handle it. To at least find out why they are here and or ask them to leave. He doesn't. He tells me to shut the fuck up, because he's tired, etc. We went camping the night before and did not get much sleep, so we had come back home early morning and went back to sleep, and continues laying in the bed with the door wide open and his mom is doing the dishes in the other room. His stepdad is out working on our car that is broke down. His mom comes in another time than his stepdad asking where tools were. He is still just laying in the bed y'all. I can't get up cause I'm not trying to flash my in-laws. Finally I time it to get up and shower without them seeing. After I go to the bedroom to tell him I didn't appreciate the way he talked to me, he had more choice words to say to me. He never ended up getting up until 3 in the afternoon. I could tell his stepdad was annoyed because when they left he said something about he was going to just lay in bed all day too. They end up leaving without fixing the car because it was too hot. Later I find out that his parents had texted him the night before saying they were coming by to fix our car. He didn't tell me this. I'm upset with him the rest of the day because he continues to defend his parents' actions. When I try talking to him it turns into a fight because I feel like he's not even trying to understand my side. I tried texting out my feelings and his responses were, lol, or, why do you have a problem with everything? He even called my parents fat fucks that don't do anything for us when I said, how would you feel if the roles were reversed? Side note, my husband says he doesn't hate my family, but he will say the most awful things about people when he's mad. I hate this about him. I have never fought this way by name calling. So how would you feel if your in-laws did this and your husband didn't stand up for your privacy? Am I being overly sensitive? I have already changed the passcode now. I feel like this is showing me he definitely can't handle a child. We had been trying, because he refused to get out of bed for his own parents. Is this a red flag? There's a whole boatload of red flags. While your in-laws should never have waltzed into the bedroom, they at least thought that they were expected. Your husband should have immediately gotten out of bed, apologized to you, and told them to never open your bedroom door. Not having much sleep is no excuse for his behavior. And I frankly don't believe that he doesn't know that his behavior was not acceptable. Don't have a baby with someone that doesn't respect you. Please. Your husband is unbelievably mean and the way he speaks to you is abusive. Are you married to a 14-year-old? This whole situation is awful. He sounds terrible. Why do you allow him to speak to you and disrespect you like this? I'd file for divorce. Not because of his parents barging in, but because instead of acknowledging your feeling of violation he's laughing at it and insulting your parents. I refuse to be with a partner who doesn't take my concern seriously. How should I, 32 female, respond to my husband's cheating, 28 male? My husband and I have been married for about 3 years. I was going through depression which had a lot of side effects including low or non-existent sex drive. We would maybe have sex once a month. I could tell that bothered him and he wanted more but he never pressured me or forced me to do more. When we did have sex it was decent and he always made sure I was satisfied. Well, one day he left his phone in the bathroom and I started going through it and I saw a picture of him in just his boxers. Of course, I was wondering who he was sending this to so I confronted him. He said he had posted it in a Reddit group, something about comparing himself to other guys. I didn't really buy that and to be honest, I always kinda suspected that he might be cheating on me. Fast forward 2 months, I was pressuring him to tell me if he was sleeping around, or someone on the side, or had been to strippers, whatever, just tell me and I'd forgive him but I needed to know. Well, the next day he sends me an email saying he hadn't been sleeping around but that one time, supposedly, he had met up with a guy and they had jerked off together. He says there was no physical contact, but who knows? Anyway, this was a bridge too far for me. I said I couldn't trust him anymore, told him to move out and now I'm thinking about leaving the area and getting divorced. He says he's sorry he broke my trust, and he wants to reconcile, but I don't think the thinks he actually cheated. I think it's worse than if he had just slept with another woman, and that's why I want to end our relationships. Is there another way I should be looking at this situation? Edit. He says this all started, sending pics, 6 months ago when I told him to move out for a month because I just wanted a break. He's not abusive and there's nothing specific I was upset about, but I just needed some space. And then after he moved back in, apparently this happened with the other guy. Again he says it was just once, but who really knows? Edit 2. About why I needed a break. We moved from one city to another and had 2 homes temporarily. I was tired of being with him and after we moved I told him I wanted some space and I wanted him to stay at the old place. That's all there is to it. I also told him that I'm not sure why I married him in the first place. Also, he says he's not gay and I know for a fact that he's into women as well. Maybe he's bi but he would never admit that. He says he just was sexually curious and wanted that experience. Who really knows though? You said you'd forgive him and then you didn't. You forced him into a confession and then backed out on your part of the deal. At no point did you qualify that your forgiveness had conditions. You're married and kicking your husband out for a month cause you need a break? You probably shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. That definitely doesn't give him the right to cheat though. There's a lot to unpack here. You don't say if you're still only having sex once a month, though even if you are it isn't an excuse for him to cheat. On the other hand, you seem to be reacting to his same-sex experience more severely than if it had been another woman. You need to ask yourself why that might be. Also, might it be worth going to couples counseling before deciding to end the relationship? How should I, 32 female, respond to my husband's cheating, 28 male? By handing him divorce papers. To be fair, you both sound pretty unpleasant people to be around. You asked him to move out for a month. You deny him regular sex. You promise to forgive him then don't. The poor guy just wants to get off. The masturbating with a guy, but no touching, is weird and the type of thing very sexually frustrated people do. Seems you have fostered quite the abusive relationship here. Let him go find what he is looking for with dignity and respect. You are the problem here.